I have a confession to make. And that confession is that I've fallen in love with myself. This never used to be the case. And this story of self love starts with actually self hate and poverty, and why I used to think that my self worth was this much, this 2 rupee coin. This is what I used to consider my self worth with. So, if you're the sort of person who hates themselves because they have flaws, you've come to the right channel and you've come to the right video, because I used to be that way. Let's get on with the story. With every story about self love or any story on this channel, everything starts with my childhood. And the story of childhood starts with the two apartments. So, we used to live in this neighborhood in Karachi known as Gulistan-e-Johar, and we used to live in these really fancy apartments known as Rufi Lake Drive. And this is where the earlier part of my childhood was. In Pakistan, there's this culture of living with your extended family. And when my dad had, me and my brother, we moved out across the street to a different apartment. We could obviously see our relatives over there in Rufi Lake Drive, but these apartments were smaller and we were poorer. And that divide I felt very deeply. You see, this road was dividing the two apartment blocks, but it was also dividing a family. So when my cousins would come over to my grandma's house right across the street, Rufi Lake Drive, they would get these 10 rupee packs of crisps known as potato sticks. Everyone would get that, but I didn't get that. And with me, I'm getting these, wait for it, 2 rupee bag of crisps. And this sort of thing as a child you feel, because it's not like I didn't like potato sticks. I loved them, but the behavior that my grandmother sort of had with me, obviously she loved me, but when a lot of people were around, she used to treat me like I was secondary, and the primary were the kids who were richer. And sort of having that self-belief about yourself that you're worth less compared to someone sort of sticks with you as a child and really becomes the sort of fundamental belief that you live by. And for me, for years, I didn't even know that self-belief existed. All I knew was that I was extremely obsessed with potato sticks. I don't know why. And this potato stick story is not the only thing that happened, in my childhood. This is like the tangible sort of culmination of that mindset that I am worth less compared to someone else. And that's why I wanted to include this in this story. And so for a while we lived in Gulistan-e-Johar, but due to some bad conditions in that apartment when we got robbed, so we moved to some other place known as Gulshan Iqbal. That's when our financial situation got from bad to worse. And so my parents had to find a way to get me to a school affordably. And so they picked a school which was right across the street. Now these schools are called the neighborhood schools, which means basically that it's a small school, a small bungalow that's been converted to a school. We don't have good government schools in Pakistan, so everyone has to study privately. And so studying is like a big financial sort of commitment. I remember one moment very vividly that one of my relatives, she said that your school is like a matchbox. How do you even fit inside that school? And my kids have a school which is so big. It's got a pool. It's got everything. Being a kid and listening to that sort of bullshit really makes you not question the other person's mental state or how immature they are, but it makes you question your own self-worth, which is already laid out to be that you are worth less compared to other people, and that you're worth this 2 rupee coin. What the hell is it? Here it is. This is your self-worth. And this brings me to chapter 2, the body image. When I was a kid, I was having a lot of problems with body image, And that was because I was extremely skinny. Like, I was extremely skinny. I couldn't understand why that was. And so one day I looked in the mirror and I was like, I saw my chest in the mirror, and I figured that it had like a bump in it. Like, it was not even. It had a bump in it, and I assumed that it was because of my unhealthy habits, or because I'm skinny, that my chest is also like a weird shape. But I soon figured out that I had a condition known as pectus excavatum.
Bottom is a depression in the chest that develops sometimes as early as infancy, but oftentimes will become more apparent in teenagers and adolescents during a growth spurt.
When you're a teenager, when you're growing up, and when you already have like really crazy self-beliefs, sets the tone that, okay, this is also another confirmation of the fact that you're worthless, that you're weird, that you're I used to consider myself like defected, and couple that with the nose that I had, and I was extremely afraid of my facial symmetry, and like certain people who were close to me making fun of these conditions when they found out that I had them, really gave me a bitter taste in my mouth about people. And I didn't really I just felt like really bad, and that's when my self-worth was like, it took a deep dive. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm like very, very comfortable now with everything that I have. Like, I'm sort of skinny, yeah, I understand, and I still have that nose, I still have the chest, but I'm cool now. I'm very, very comfortable, and this is a story of how I became comfortable with that sort of bad sort of baggage. When I came back to Pakistan after living in Saudi for eight years, I came here, and I wanted to be like the nice person, so everyone would love me, because there's not a lot of social interaction in Saudi Arabia. And so when I came here, I was like, okay, I want to make friends. I want to, be with a lot of people. And my sort of attitude was to be extremely nice to everyone. I soon realized that, being this nice guy, and being, screwed over by a couple of people who were pretending to be my friends just for, benefits, and not friends with benefits, but friends who could take advantage of me. And some girls who were like extremely open, but just, trying to use me just so I could do their assignments or some shit. And I realized very soon that being this nice person and putting myself out there like, oh, please love me, that thing just made me extremely vulnerable to these really bad people who took my niceness for my weakness. And so I hid myself like completely. Like, I just learned to put this mask, and as my best friend calls it, I learned to play a character. And he's right, I played a character. And with every romantic relationship that I got in, I was playing a character. With every person that I interacted with, I was playing a character. Because internally, I knew that my real self has no worth. So it's not all gloomy and bad with me. I don't want to paint that picture. So when I came to university, I obviously met a lot of bad people who were opportunistic. But for every 2 people that I met who were opportunistic, I met 10 people or 15 people who were lovely human beings who just loved you for who you are. But it was only when I fell in love with this beautiful girl that really changed my perspective on everything. She was the sort of person who loved me more if I expressed my weaknesses, if I expressed my side of myself that I kept to myself and I didn't share with anyone. And she, being the wonderful person that she was, got that out of me and showed me with love and with care and with the most tender sort of personality that my self-worth was not, wait for it, not like this. Really, she started a chain reaction of me being real, me being connected to who I was, me learning to love myself. And that really, that was like the part when I became conscious and became more confident that, okay, if I show my real self to people, it is because I have some self-worth. And that cycle that she started off, my girlfriend, when she started off that cycle, it ended with me being completely real to myself and telling myself that I'll never ever be fake ever again. I'll never ever put on a mask because I know that this coin does not represent me. Until the next time, I will see you. If you're the sort of person who goes through a lot of emotional problems and has a lot of problem adjusting to life, and ideas are the pills you need to understand life and to control your neuroticism, and you're very inquisitive about the nature of reality and how we perceive things, then you've come to the right place. With Charcoal Mindscream, I tend to have a very analytical perspective on how we view world, and that's the perspective that I want to share with you. So if you're the sort of person who has that, please come along. And if you're not the sort of person, I happily accept you to like walk out the door, because this is not the place for you, because you're a normal human being and this is a place for weirdos. Okay, I'll see you next time. Thank you, and consider subscribing.